You are a young comic book creator. You've had a few series under your belt, but they didn't perform sales wise too well. However, you are about to be given the opportunity of a lifetime. You have just been offered to do the art for a Darth Vader book. It seems like a great opportunity, but for all of your previous works, you not only did the art by yourself, you also did the writing. And this has become kind of a sense of pride for you. You have had an idea in the back of your head for your own original story. You are presented with two options: work with the Star Wars book with the guaranteed financial success and name recognition that comes with it, or strike on your own and tell your own story the way you want to tell it. This is the choice that writer and artist Daniel Warren Johnson had to make, and this is how Extremity was born.
Look, Space Mullet, Ghost Fleet, they were fine, but it's not like they were setting the world on fire in any way. You know, the book sales were what they were, and then, you know, the art sales were what they were, and I really felt like you know, a Star Wars property, at Marvel would really help kickstart everything for Dan. And, but prior to that, Dan had told me coming off of Ghost Fleet that he was determined to write and draw his own comics. Like he was the only writer he really wanted to work for was himself. It's nothing against the writers, just that, you know, the true creative fulfillment comes in doing it all himself.
Well said.
But still, how do you turn down Darth Vader? But so the point of the story is, I wanted to do Darth Vader. And he said, I have this book, and it wasn't called Extremity at the time, but he was doing character sketches. And I thought, well, you know what, do Darth Vader, get an audience, and then go do this. But he had that much discipline and integrity and belief in himself. He goes, no, I'm gonna not do Darth Vader, I just want to do my thing. And I said, okay, you know, it's your choice. I said, you know, but then Extremity came out, and I said, holy crap, you know, keep going. This thing is great. The art, we're selling out all the art, we're selling complete issues. Why are you ending this? It's done, I've told the story. And I'm thinking, you know, let's keep milking this thing. And he said, okay, so what are you gonna do next? Well, I got this idea about a giant bird that plays.
Extremity is a story about loss of identity, about pain, suffering, and revenge. But it's also a story about healing. Extremity doesn't exist without Daniel Warren Johnson. He puts his fears, pain, and vulnerabilities and bleeds them onto the page. For Daniel Warren Johnson, Extremity was a way to face his fears. Extremity represented a path of creative freedom, but it also was a huge risk.
And it wasn't until I actually started doing something that I loved full time that I started realizing just how special this experience was for me to be able to do this every day. And then I don't know if this is probably unhealthy, but you know, my brain immediately was like, well, what if this went away? And you know, I just like I think maybe it's part of getting older, or I don't know. But I was like, what if I lose my drawing hand? And you know, I don't think I was obsessing over it, but it's definitely one of my greatest fears. I would say and I was just trying to process that a little bit. And at the time that I was kind of thinking about this, I was developing Extremity, and I hadn't pitched it to anybody yet, but it was just another revenge story. So Thea had lost her mother, and that was about it. And like her clan had been attacked. And, you know, the loss of a loved one is done a lot in revenge stories. Not a bad thing. It's just is the way it is. And there wasn't really any of my self in the story yet. It was just like me kind of taking something that I thought would be cool to draw and like putting it on the page, and there wasn't a lot of soul there. And I found, at least especially for my creator on stories, and you know, to the big, whenever I work with big two stuff too, I have to I don't know how else to do it. Like, I have to put myself into the stories. I have to almost like bleed a little bit onto the paper. And so the piece of myself that definitely fueled Extremity was the, you know, worry, the anxiety of like losing something that was so important to me. So instead of a revenge story where it's the loss of a loved one, it's more about the loss of identity. And so replacing identity with something that you've lost and where that might get you or might not get you. So that was the goal.
Our protagonist is Thea, an artist beloved by her community. What was stolen from her was so much greater than any physical object. Her sense of purpose and identity was wiped away when an enemy clan raids her village, kills her mother, and severs her hand. Unable to do the thing she loved the most, and the pain of losing her mother, she's left with this gaping hole inside of her, filled with nothing but pain and lust for revenge. A lot of what Extremity is about is learning to let go of that hatred, learning that even though the pain will never stop and the hole may never be filled, you can still move forward. For Thea, it's letting go of her past and what she has lost. But for Daniel Warren Johnson, it's letting go of his creations.
So especially when I started Extremity, there was this kind of like creative rigor mortis where it's like, I must not make a mistake.
Right.
It must be perfect. And the more that I stumbled through Extremity, the more I realized that the fact that I'm able to even make this in the first place is just insane. And there's going to be plot holes in everything, no matter what. If it's like fiction, it just is.
Yeah.
And another thing is that there's some people that just won't enjoy it, and that's fine. And taking those things into account, my confidence with making stories and drawing them has risen greatly. That being said, I still sometimes cry at night wondering if it's the right move or not.
This was Daniel Warren Johnson's big shot. He had given up the opportunity of Star Wars to pursue his own intellectual property. So everything needed to be perfect, right? The thing about perfection is that it is this ever-shifting goalpost. The script, video, or whatever creative project can always be more perfect. A phrase I heard is that perfection is the enemy of done. A lot of time you have to be okay with a project not being exactly what you had envisioned in your head. What's important is that you made it, even if it didn't turn out 100% like you had hoped.
I always assumed that kill your darlings meant, you know, if you have this really cool idea and you make it, it's like the first thing you make is going to suck. And so it's like your darling in your head, but you need to put it onto the page and kill it in order for it to like, because you have to kill it in order to get to the next darling that's not going to be as bad.
Right.
Kill that one. The end result is never going to be what you really want it to be, but it's the journey and also like the being able to tell a story that means something to a person or to you. That is worth it. Like I can guarantee that will feel good, even though the way that you get there or the final product is like, ugh.
For me, there was always this massive fear of making videos that weren't good enough, that I didn't have the skill or talent, until I realized that I would never get those skills until I tried. So this is me, killing my darling. These videos may not be the best, but I always strive to be better than I was yesterday. Extremity was a massive financial and creative success for Daniel Warren Johnson. Since the publication of Extremity, he has gone on to work on numerous comics for both Marvel and DC, such as series like Wonder Woman Dead Earth, but also continues to create new worlds with his books like Murder Falcon and his newly announced series, The Moon is Following Us. A Kickstarter project for a signature edition of Extremity was launched earlier this year of 2024 and has massively surpassed its goal. You can also purchase Extremity wherever comics are sold, and you can find Daniel Warren Johnson on his YouTube channel where he does weekly art streams. Thank you.